Hey guys, welcome to the Digest This podcast. I'm Bethany, and obviously I'm your host. And I thought it would be really good to talk about protein and the digestion of protein because a lot of people, especially with digestive issues already, have a really hard time digesting protein, especially animal-based protein and meats and steak. And red meat is so beneficial for you, but it's kind of a catch-22 because so many people want to eat red meat, but they physically cannot. So I'm going to go over some signs that your body is not digesting meat properly or protein in general, as well as ways to fix it and begin to digest protein more efficiently. So stay tuned to the very end. If you've ever wondered about the non-toxic air fryers, shampoos and conditioners, organic undies, and new food products on the market, and even some not available to the public yet, and you want to get the inside scoop, then you need to join the 20,000 plus people that are already receiving these updates via my Friday Finds newsletter. I share information that only my subscribers get in their inbox. Stuff like non-toxic kitchen appliances, new food finds, product recalls, food news, and even personal care products we all should or should not be using. My Friday Finds newsletter goes out once a week every Friday and has quickly become some of my followers' favorite things to open in their inbox. I've even started to include a recipe in this once a week newsletter. This is not published anywhere else and cannot be found on my blog. So if you're not part of the over 20,000 people that are in the know, be sure you're not left out by going to littlesipper.com/subscribe and enter your email. That's it. It's free. There's no spam, just helpful, insightful content full of goods, literally. So pause this episode and go to LILSIPPER.com/subscribe. That's LILSIPPER.com/subscribe. All right, so protein is the most important substances in your body. Your muscles, hair, eyes, organs, and many hormones and enzymes are primarily made out of protein. It also helps to repair and maintain your body tissues. However, not all protein is created equal, and there are things you can do to help your body use it more efficiently. Now, protein is a very large nutrient that's made up of smaller substances called amino acids. There are 20 amino acids, but your body can only make 11 of them. The other 9 are called essential amino acids, and you can only get them through your diet. High-quality protein sources such as meat, fish, eggs, and dairy products contain all 9 of the essential amino acids. These are also called whole proteins or, quote, complete proteins. There are only a few plant-based protein sources that contain all 9 essential amino acids and are a complete protein. One of the few is actually pea protein. That's why when people ask me if I know of any vegan, easy-to-digest, complete protein sources, I'm always quick to direct them to my Digestive Support Protein by Nuzest under the Bethany's Pantry tab on their website. The digestive line I created is much easier to digest than steak and other meat sources. And though I do eat meat, I also consume my own protein because it's just easy to sneak into my diet and I don't feel heavy or full after consuming it. Another plant-based source of a complete protein is quinoa, but you would have to eat cups and cups of quinoa to get the same amount you would from just a small amount of steak or even just 2 scoops of my protein powder. And the carbs from eating cups of quinoa could offset and dysregulate other issues going on or feed any overgrowth of yeast in your body. Another commonly known complete vegan protein is rice and beans when you eat them together. However, for many people, beans tend to not sit well. And again, you would have to eat double or triple the amount to get the same amount of protein you could from an animal source. So if you are one to want to get more protein into your diet, you're probably wondering, well, how do I get more protein? So obviously the first step is to increase your protein consumption with protein that contains all 9 essential amino acids. These include meat, fish, eggs, dairy products, and of course, protein powders that contain all 9 essential amino acids. Now, not all protein powders do contain all 9 essential amino acids. There is one brand that I also love, and it is by Equip Foods, and it's their Prime Protein. This is actually dehydrated grass-fed beef, and it's dried and ground into a powder form to create a protein powder you can add to your smoothies, soups, oatmeal, yogurt, or whatever else you enjoy. Just 1 scoop contains 90 calories and 20 grams of complete protein, which again contains all 9 essential amino acids. I personally just stick to their plain unflavored version, which is just 1 single ingredient, grass-fed beef. That's it. There's no added chemicals, fillers, or binding agents. So if you are looking to add more red meat specifically to your diet, I would definitely incorporate Equip Foods grass-fed Prime Protein. And I actually have a code for 20% off. This is actually much higher than the code I share on my Instagram, by the way. So it should help you save quite a bit. Just enter code DIGEST at equipfoods.com when you check out. But it's only good for products that are not on subscription. So I actually went to their website to use my own code, and I added the subscription instead of a single purchase item. And I was wondering why I wasn't getting the 20% off, and that was why. So I switched to the one-time purchase, and it worked. So again, just go to equipfoods.com, enter code DIGEST, and you'll get 20% off any non-subscription items. Now, I want to talk about indigestion and the correlation here, because most people think that indigestion, reflux, and stomach pain after meals are due to over-acidity of the stomach. But that is quite the contrary. That is actually the opposite. So most people suffer today from low stomach acid, even though they do get all of these symptoms. So apart from feeling uncomfortable after and in between meals, stomach acid serves many purposes. But in a vast majority of cases, this is not true. What most people suffer from today is low stomach acid. So apart from feeling comfortable after and in between meals, stomach acid serves many different purposes. First of all, it is the first line of defense between the outside world, like any potential bacteria ingested, and the gastrointestinal system. Low stomach acid does not offer proper protection, and a potential infection can lead to a lot more gut issues and an imbalance in the gut flora that can further disrupt the stomach acid's delicate balance. By killing pathogenic bacteria, our stomach acid is responsible for proper immune function. This is because 80% of our immune system is found in our gut, which is why I'm sure you all know by now, it truly does all start in the gut. Stomach acid is also responsible for breaking down proteins into smaller molecules called amino acids, and proteins cannot be digested and absorbed in the form we consume them. They need to be broken down very well in our stomach. And stomach acid is also responsible for vitamin B12 absorption. Compromised stomach function, like in a lot of older people, can lead to serious vitamin B12 deficiency. And many of my followers that suffer chronically from reflux and indigestion, typically they are scoring low on the vitamin B12 blood test and ask me all the time, well, what supplements should I take? I'm doing all the things, I'm taking supplements, I'm eating this or that, but it's just not adding up. And they're really, really confused, actually. I was going to say a little confused, but they're really confused. So if you are one to suffer from low vitamin B12, perhaps it's not the food or the supplements you're taking, but it could just actually be malabsorption. So again, it all goes back to the stomach acid, and adequate stomach acid is really important in breaking down protein, especially animal-based sources like fish, meat, seafood, and dairy. Many people who have low stomach acid complain of feeling heavy after meals, especially protein-rich meals, and even lose their desire to eat meat. So what are the symptoms of low stomach acid? You may be wondering, well, do I have low stomach acid? So here are some symptoms of low stomach acid. Acid reflux and heartburn, which a lot of people think it's the opposite. They have too much, but that actually could be a sign of low stomach acid. Other signs are burping and bloating, uncomfortable fullness after eating, nausea and dizziness, a sore or hoarse throat or coughing upon waking up in the morning, undigested food seen in your stool, metallic taste in your mouth. That's another one. And then also just poor immunity in general. If you have intestinal permeability like leaky gut, IBS and SIBO is another sign of low acid in the stomach. Food intolerances and sensitivities, that could be another sign. Slow gut motility, that can lead to constipation. A lot of people are constipated, but however, some people can also have diarrhea as a result of low stomach acid. And even acne and rosacea are signs. Now, obviously, if you have these signs, it doesn't mean you have low stomach acid, but these are some signs to look out for and perhaps investigate a little bit further. So what contributes to low stomach acid in the first place? Like, how did we get here, right? So a few things that do contribute to low stomach acid is stress, hello, chronic intake of antacids. So if you are taking a lot of antacids, Pepto-Bismol, all that kind of stuff, that could actually make things worse. Medications can make things worse. Over-the-counter stuff, antibiotics can also decrease the acid in your stomach. Oral contraceptive pills, and then like NSAIDs and things like that, can also contribute. Another thing, eating too quickly and too much is another thing that contributes to low stomach acid. It's recommended to eat until you're about 80% full. If you are eating too fast or just mindlessly, you will find yourself too full when it's too late. Insufficient chewing is another culprit, as well as just low mineral and low salt intake. There's nothing wrong with authentic unprocessed salt like sea salt. And I even salt my smoothies, which is so good, by the way. If you ever have had a sweet and salty treat, think of that combo, but in smoothie form, right? I also take the unflavored LMNT electrolytes, which is just salt, magnesium, and potassium. That's it. LMNT's unflavored version contains a science-backed electrolyte ratio of salt, magnesium, and potassium. And it's just those three simple ingredients in their raw unflavored packs. There are actually multiple studies pointing to a link between dehydration and a higher risk of anxiety and depression. That's just side note of just staying hydrated and making sure your mineral and salt intake is at its peak. And if you have low levels of electrolytes, it can cause anxiety or panic-like symptoms. These symptoms include shortness of breath, confusion, and rapid heartbeat. You might also be irritable, lightheaded, fatigued, or experience headaches or nausea. And adding electrolytes is just a great way to replenish and rebalance your body, mind, and mood. However, most electrolyte drink mixes contain added gums, sugars, colors, and even added oils, among many other unnecessary ingredients. So I'm really picky about what goes into my personal body. So that's why I choose LMNT's raw, unflavored, science-backed electrolyte mix, which is formulated with the perfect mineral ratio. And the cool thing is that LMNT also has a no questions asked refund policy. So you can try it totally risk-free. If you don't like it, they will give you your money back, no questions asked. So you really have nothing to lose. If you go to drinklmnt.com/digest, you can get 8 free single-serve packets to try with any order. This is a special offer they've extended to my podcast community. So just go to drinklmnt.com LMNT.com/digest to get this amazing offer. And again, if you don't like it, they will give you your money back, no questions asked. So now that we're all experts and aware that our stomach acid is super important and it does more than just help digest food, right? How do we support and increase our stomach acid? So we know we need to increase our stomach acid. How do we do that now? So first of all, slowly increase protein intake. So when it comes to animal protein, aim to get a slower cooked meat. Even a slow cooker is great, a crock pot. Meats will be much more digestible that way and super tender. Also, just avoid hard-boiled eggs. That's just a side note. They're really hard to digest. So I don't even like hard-boiled eggs to begin with, but hard-boiled eggs, very hard to digest. I like my eggs very jammy and runny. Scrambled is probably the easiest way to digest eggs and incorporate them, and do little bits at a time. I mean, you don't have to eat 3 eggs. Try half of an egg even. Scramble it up, eat half of it, see how you do. If you do well, eat the rest, and then just go from there. It's just baby steps, right? Also, practice mindfulness around your meals. So that will help you with lots of just great and easy to implement just ideas around calming yourself down, be just calm. And I know it's hard because so many of us now are just eating in a rush. We're going from here to there, and we don't even take a time to sit and just enjoy a meal. But if you can, your health is so important. You need to practice mindfulness around your meals. Take deep breaths before your meals. You can do breathing techniques. You can minimize cold fluids around meals. So they shouldn't be like super cold. Now, I do want to note that every single time I eat a smoothie, it is on the colder side. However, I always sip a warm tea with it. So I combat that, and I don't drink it because you shouldn't really gulp and drink a lot of fluids with a meal. However, sipping can actually be very helpful if it's warm. So to that note, if you're eating a smoothie or if you're just eating a meal in general, sipping some warm tea can help with digestion and absorption. Again, we've talked about salt and how that is super important to keep your minerals up. You can increase zinc-rich foods that can help with the absorption of the proteins. Pumpkin seeds are a great source of zinc. Oysters, another great source of zinc. Now, you can avoid soups later in the day. That tends to have helped a lot of people. It's a lot more liquidy. So maybe if you want a soup, just don't eat it right before meals. You really shouldn't be eating anything right before you go to bed in general, like late at night. So try and avoid late night snacking. Now, my favorite types of protein, obviously grass-fed organic beef, but if you can't afford it, still try and get beef when you can. Ground is a lot easier to digest versus a full-on steak. So ground beef is great. Again, if you've been following me on Instagram for a while, you know that I actually used to have to puree my meat till it was a paste and basically a spreadable meat, which is it's pate if you really think about it. So it's no different. But try it and cooking your ground meat and then putting it in a blender and pureeing it. I know that sounds crazy, but if you are in that dire state, you will do anything and it doesn't taste any different. It just tastes like a burger, add some ketchup or whatever, and you're good to go. Another thing is yogurt. Yogurt is very, very easy to digest. If you can't do dairy yogurt or if you can't do cow's milk yogurt, try goat or sheep. That is a lot easier to digest, and a lot of people can handle that a lot better. Now, if you are able to digest organ meats, that's another great, great way to implement and get your protein intake up. You can even grind it up with your meat. There's companies that sell it already ground up into your meat, so you can't even really taste it. There's so many other options out there. So one last thing, Bone broth. Bone broth is so great in healing, and it's one of the staples, really. And I consume it all the time. I love Bonafide bone broth. The frozen is the best. It's in Sprouts, Whole Foods. It's in, again, the frozen section, Bonafide. So anyways, I hope you found this bite of knowledge helpful and it was an encouragement to you. And if you think someone you know that could benefit from this podcast as well, please send it to them and share it with them. And if you haven't already, the best way to support this podcast and all the work put into it is by simply giving it a 5-star rating and review. I would truly appreciate it. Thanks so much, guys. I truly do love you, and I will see you soon. Thanks for listening to this episode of Digest This. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review in your podcast app to let us know. If you're ever wondering how you can support me and this podcast, sharing it with your friends and family is the best way. This is a Resonant Media production produced by Drake Peterson and edited by Mike Fry. To email the show, message us at digestthispod@gmail.com. See you next time. The content of this show is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not a substitute for individual medical and mental health advice and does not constitute a provider-patient relationship. As always, talk to your doctor or health team first.